Welcome to Transform Today and Do It Again Tomorrow, the podcast devoted to getting you unstuck, taking your life off autopilot, and having more fun by being your authentic self. This is episode number 6, Become a Self-Aware Ninja Who is Prepared for Obstacles. My name is Rebecca Ryan, and as a certified life coach and professional writer, I help people from all walks of life transform their lives to find their focus, their purpose, and authentic selves by digging deep to find the answers that were there the whole time. So we are on episode 6 in this 8-part series that is meant to give you a taste of what happens in life coaching sessions. A lot of people, they understandably roll their eyes at the term life coach. And I'll be honest with you, I used to be the same way. I was like, really? A life coach? Come on now. I used to think like a life coach is someone who thinks she's perfect and she's going to be judgy and tell me what to do in that creepy, whispery voice. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, listen to any meditation app and they'll talk like this, like find your center. I assumed like all life coaches would be like that. But that couldn't be further from what the truth is. A life coach is someone who is just like you. Someone who's felt stuck and who's made lots of mistakes and created goals and failed. That's me, a life coach who is real, who is human. The difference is a life coach has studied concepts, research, and positive psychology that will help you begin to understand what you need as an individual and help you create an action plan to change your life. So therapy is great because it digs into your past to help you really kind of process things that might be holding you back. That's great. It's all focused on the past. However, when you talk to a life coach, it's all about what do you want now? We might talk about a bit of your past, what's holding you back. Let's acknowledge that, and what's the action plan to move forward, to change your life, to get you unstuck, based on what you want, not what the life coach tells you should want. In these recent podcasts, I've been walking you through the necessary slow steps everyone needs to take to create long-term change in their lives. Now, you have to invest the time to get to know yourself and what's important to you and why. If you've been listening each week, you've heard me say this. I'll say it again. Life coaching allows you time and space to step off the conveyor belt of adulting and objectively look at your life with your life coach, which you just normally don't do, right? You just get caught up in the routine. You don't step away and take a look and make observations. As you start to look at your life, a life coach begins to ask questions that help challenge you and to start peeling back the layers of things that are really getting in your way. And a magical thing happens when you start to answer questions out loud. Okay, you're not doing this by yourself in your head. You're speaking these answers out loud. You say things you had no idea consciously that you felt, but you've been feeling that way subconsciously for a long time. You just didn't realize it. Well, there's nothing woo-woo or mystical about that, I promise you. It just simply means we spend so much time in our daily, sometimes autopilot rhythms, that we don't slow down to investigate the layers of how we feel and how our experiences have shaped us. And I've been super lucky enough to witness clients I work with have breakthroughs after they make these connections that help them get unstuck. And sometimes they say it feels like a weight has been lifted because it's just this huge relief to have the answer about why they felt stuck on something. And it's also a relief to now be able to have a better idea about how they want to tackle the rest of their lives. And when they say they feel like a weight has been lifted, that's called a somatic response. Just a fancy way of saying, man, I feel my emotions in my body. They feel it in their gut. You all heard of, I had a gut feeling. It's your emotions speaking to your body saying, it doesn't feel right. Or if you're nervous, you have anxiety, you have a stomach ache. That's a super good example of a somatic response. Your body feels the anxiety. So sometimes when you find these breakthroughs, you get unstuck, your body feels it, and it feels like, I'm free. I can breathe. I can move forward now that I have my answers. When you start to see your life in focus and you understand who you are, what you want, and why you want it, a big part of doing this work is being real about the obstacles in your life. Obstacles. No fun, but we gotta talk about it. The discussion in a life coaching session is always going to include the topic of obstacles to ask, what's gotten in your way in the past? What's getting in your way now? And what's going to keep getting in your way in the future? So obstacles, are what we're going to focus on today. We have to. I'm sorry. And I'm just about to be a big old Debbie Downer in this episode. I'm sorry about that, but we can't live with our heads in the clouds and think, oh, this time's going to be different. Nothing's going to stop me now. You might have days where you really feel like that. Like you're all, yes, I'm going to do this. Nothing will get in my way. I'm so optimistic. But that's just not sustainable, right? There's going to be things that get in your way that stop you from always feeling your best. It's called life, y'all, right? I gotta be real about it. The goal of life coaching is not just to help you feel great in that session, right? That would be a short-term fix, like putting a Band-Aid on your problems. The goal is to give you tools to take home, to use over and over again when life gets difficult, or it throws a curveball in your way. So sorry, we got to be real about obstacles and just admit that they will be there. Every single day you're going to have something challenge you. Could be big, could be small, but challenges are always there. If we can be realistic about them and prepared and able to identify obstacles rather than just be caught up in them and let them win, man, if we can do this, you will stop being a passenger in your life and become the driver. Does that sound good? You want to do that? And again, that doesn't mean life gets easy and glitter comes out of the sky. Yay, my life coach fixed me. No, it's not like that. It just means you learned a powerful ninja move of stepping away from your life and assessing what trips you up and what intimidates you from being your best you, so you can stop letting that win. You're not going to let obstacles have the last word. They're still going to get their hands on you, but you're going to learn ways to conquer that. So you know who you are, you know what your own obstacles are. You're going to have a list of your own. But I wanted this episode to be about sharing some common ones with you so you can get a sense of what people wrestle with. Oftentimes when I work with clients, and I think this is a pretty common theme for humans, we often think, man, I'm the only one who's broken. I'm the only one who doesn't know what she's doing. Everyone else is so awesome. I'm the only idiot. I'm the only one who's struggling. We get in our heads and think everyone else has it figured out. That's just not the case. So sometimes it's good to share knowledge and share the dirty little secret that we're all struggling. Sometimes that information and that knowledge is powerful enough to be like, oh, okay, I'm not so weird. I'm not so special or different. Everyone is struggling. So sometimes knowing other people are facing the same battles can really help you realize you're not weak, you're not different, you're just human. Sounds like Oprah Winfrey, human. And we're all facing obstacles every day. So that's one reason why I share all these obstacles with you. So the goal is to turn up the volume of the voice of positivity and focus, so it becomes louder than the obstacles. Again, the obstacles are not going to go away, but they can drift to the background if we start doing the daily work. Keyword, daily. It becomes who you are. So as you do some self-improvement work or like self-discovery work and you're working towards changing something about yourself, the obstacles you're going to face can fit into these categories. So the first one is other people. They're going to get in your way. Your thoughts about other people are going to get in your way. Your thoughts and beliefs about yourself. Oh, that's a big one. It's going to get in your way. Your environment and your past. Those are all categories, and there might be more, but those are big ones of categories of different obstacles that might trip you up, so why not be aware of them, okay? So let's start with the first one, people. People being an obstacle in your way. As you start to make changes in your life, you might see others might have an opinion of it. They might tell you, oh, you're doing it the wrong way. You should really be doing this. Do you want to know what I did? I did this. So really nice, a place of intention where they're coming from. They want to be helpful, but sometimes we don't want their opinion, but they're going to come at you with their opinions. Also, Other people might start being annoyed at changes you're trying to make because your new way of living might not fit into that person's usual mold of who you are, right? You're like stepping out into something different and they're like, what? That's not who you are. What? And also in that same vein of thinking, sometimes people can get jealous of your progress because it shines a light on their own lack of motivation. It's like, ooh, why are they picking on me? Oh, because they don't understand it, or they're just jealous that they're not doing anything. An area where I see this pretty common in is if someone decides, you know what, I'm really gonna seek out more spirituality in my life. And again, spirituality does not have to mean religion. It just means you're at a place where you want something a bit more transcendent. You're hungry for more. You're seeking something bigger than you. You want to serve others. You're interested in humanity. You want to take it bigger, take your life bigger by kind of understanding that you are smaller. So this is a really big thing. It's a really big journey. So if you're surrounded by people who think that stuff is garbage, they're going to make fun of you. And that's happened before. People, they want to go on this spiritual quest and they're surrounded by people who accuse them of being a part of a cult or being brainwashed. And they laugh at others. So be aware, if you're on a journey that others don't understand, you have to kind of guard it or do whatever feels right to you. Share it, but be prepared to let people judge you. Others might get in your way. Just to give you a warning. And other people also might feel like you're showing off when you're really just sharing your good news. Other people might just not get what you're doing. So we've all heard passive aggressive things from people, right, who don't understand us. They might mock us. They might say things like, oh, okay, is that what you're doing now? Okay, great. These comments can really get in our heads, right? We can hear, at least I'm this way, I don't want to make you be the same way, but someone could say 12 compliments to me in a day, and the one person who makes fun of me or says a snide comment, that weighs 1,000,000 more pounds than those compliments. It just gets stuck in my head. So you can become self-conscious, and that self-consciousness caused by others can cause us to lose the fire in our belly because we feel exposed. It's embarrassing. It's weird when people judge us. Even if it's on social media, it's not face-to-face. You just feel like dumb. So you lose the fire in your belly and you don't reach your goals. That's a huge obstacle. Comparisons can also be thrown into this category of letting people get in your way. As you start something new, it's really toxic to get caught up in how other people are doing it. You start to assume you should be doing it the exact same way or on the same timeline that they're doing it, like quick, hurry up and do it. But really, you should be honoring who you are and being your authentic self, creating your own journey. So an example of this is I've told you guys this before if you listen to the other podcast. I was born with a disability. It's a birth defect. It's hip dysplasia. Totally fine now, but I mean fine as in it's better. I've had several surgeries. I've had my hip replaced when I was 36. So it's a lifelong struggle. My point is I don't have the strength in my leg, and I never will, of a normal person. So I have to alter the way I work out. I'm never going to be this yoga master who can bend her body in a million ways. But it doesn't stop me from getting on Instagram and moping about how I'm not like these other yoga masters. I'm clunky, I'm awkward, I'm super inflexible. I have like such low strength in my leg. So I got to do what I can do rather than comparing myself to other people who don't have this disability. And when I do that, man, I'm set free. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to go for a walk in nature and do my thing the way my body is now meant to be. So comparisons, stay away from them. So other people can be a big obstacle in your life, but most times what's bigger than other people is our assumptions of what other people will think. So say, for example, you have a goal of starting your own business, okay? But you might start to think others are going to judge you or laugh at you when it fails. Like you've already gotten in your head, it's going to fail, and people are going to laugh at me. Like our brains, you know this, right? They spit out some really cruel thoughts. We can talk really negatively and horribly to ourselves. And this is what I always tell my kids. I tell them people are so wrapped up in their own junk and their own insecurities that they're really not even paying too much attention to you. It's kind of nice to know that, right? As you start to make changes in your life and you go after some goals, other people might get in your way, but it's important to note your belief about what others might believe is most times an even bigger obstacle. And what a waste of time to be hung up on, oh, I wonder what others will think, and to create this scenario and write this story in your head that might not even be true. And okay, let's go there. Let's be honest and say people do judge us. That might happen, right? But okay, they're going to judge us. So why don't we just go ahead and do our thing anyway? So they can judge us, but they judge us while we're trying our best rather than judging us as we cower in the corner. Right? Don't you want to live big and be judged by how big you live rather than be judged by the fear you have? Come on now. A good example is me doing this podcast. I was like, I don't really want to do it. People are so judgy. And I go back and I listen to the old episodes. I'm like, you're annoying, girl. My laugh is the worst laugh in the world. But now that I'm talking about it, it's making me laugh. I say dang a lot. I say dude. I say man. I say stupid stuff. And so I can get hung up on like, oh, people are judging me. Or I can say, yeah, people are judging me. Because guess what? I'm a big old stupid dork. That's okay. It's great. Maybe embrace the fact that people are going to judge you. So people judge, and we're not everyone's cup of tea. It's okay. But guess what? We also judge others, and not everyone is our cup of tea. That's just how life works. That shouldn't stop us from doing the thing that lights us up. And it shouldn't cause us to live life in a way that when we reach the end of our life, we're like, man, I really wish I would have done more things or taken more risks. You don't want to reach the end and have like a boatload of regrets, right? But that's what happens when we get so caught up in the fear of being judged. Sometimes it's not others who get in our way, but our own selves, right? We get in our own ways by talking ourselves out of success. So common. If you don't take the time to change your mindset, it's harder to succeed since your thoughts dictate your actions. That makes sense, right? What you think is going to predict what you do. If you believe you're not cut out for this, you are right. If you believe you can do this one step at a time, you are right. So the phrase limiting beliefs, that's a big old buzz phrase in the self-improvement world. Basically, it means your negative thoughts are holding you back. Something bad might have happened to you in the past, so now you might be stuck on that, and you've kind of labeled yourself as something without ever really challenging that thought. You just accepted it. And you live your life in a way that makes that thought true until you step back and realize you've been getting in your own way for so long, and that's why you haven't pushed forward. An important way your mindset can get in your way is how you view failing. Ooh, no one likes to fail, right? The fear of failing is often what fuels limiting beliefs. But, now hear me out here. What happens if we can all exhale and admit we all fail? You can start your journey and say, yep, I'm gonna fail somewhere along the way. And like for real, authentically, truly, be okay with that. Don't just say it, but be like, I'm gonna fail somewhere along the way. All right, let's do this. So some of us are so afraid of failing, we don't begin. We let failure have the last word rather than viewing it as like this teaching tool to help you find the right answers. Like, okay, that didn't work. But now I know what I do want. Now I know what I don't want. Okay, that doesn't work for me. Valid information. It's not failing, it's just information. If you could change your lens of how you view failing, it might just help you propel forward. Along the lines of having a positive mindset, we need to challenge ourselves to open our minds. As you do the work of self-improvement, it honestly, it can feel hokey, right? Like I'm really working on myself. I don't know why that's the go-to voice. I I use. I'm working on myself. I'm digging deep. I'm really exploring insights and observations. It feels hokey. It feels weird. But be careful of putting limits on yourself, of saying, like, I'm not going to do that. That's not me. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to meditate. I used to work with, I used to do this wellness workshops for a past employee. And a group I had, this guy said, meditation, that's mumbo jumbo voodoo. I'll never forget that, mumbo jumbo voodoo. And I talked to him like, well, what do you know about it? He didn't know anything about it. He just knew the visions he had of like the hippie with the long hair sitting cross-legged with his hair billowing in the wind. Like, okay, that's all you got. That's voodoo mumbo jumbo. But he had already made up his mind and he wasn't going to do it. Or he'll say like, journaling is for hippies. Like, okay, all right, I got nothing for you. So open your mind. Do things that might challenge you. You might find you still don't like them, but there's only one way to find out. You have to try them. So if you close your mind, you might miss out on some really great things that would surprise you. No one has to know what you're up to or how vulnerable you're being with a coach or yourself. You don't have to go to work and be like, hey guys, guess what? I've been meditating. I don't know why he has a thick Southern accent, but he does. You can keep that to yourself, right? Do your work at home and keep it at home. Don't share it with anybody if you don't want them to get their hands on it and make fun of you. That's fine. So a closed mind is a huge obstacle when you're trying to change and expand who you are. So that's one big challenge I really would like you to pull from this episode. Open your mind. Don't put yourself into a box that you've been in the past. In addition to needing a new mindset, we need to acknowledge our lack of confidence, right? Ooh-wee, and change our perspective of what confidence is. Here's a fun little secret for you. Almost no one has confidence, yay, when they're starting something new because it's new, right? But just think about how confidence starts to build. It comes with action. When your brain starts to see you're putting the wheels in motion. Think about if you have a goal of, for example, saving more money and spending less. At the beginning of the month, you're going to be full of doubt because you've been immersed in this routine of always spending money and just kind of doing your thing. But after a month of doing one small thing each day, your confidence will have gone up because you've experienced small wins that snowball. Proving it's almost like evidence. It's showing you that you can do this because now you have actual proof, actual evidence. Like, okay, I can do this because I am doing this, right? So it's about small steps. Confidence builds as you take action, but you have to take action. You can't just sit back and think about it because then you won't become confident. Aside from our thoughts, we can get in our own way by being too hard on ourselves. So last week's episode, I talked about my phrase of set the bar of expectation low so you don't choke on it. Sometimes we can come out of the gate hot, right? And full of such unrealistic motivation that it burns out quickly. And then we get mad and we get down on ourselves and we give up. And being miserable all the time is a big obstacle that might keep you from being your best self. So hard work is definitely necessary, but being miserable day after day just so you can check a box is not the path to success. Success should not arrive without joy. Joy is an essential ingredient to success. And again, last week I emphasized having a goal is great, but the bigger goal is enjoying each day, enjoying the process of changing yourself to become the person you want to be. The goal is digging in deep and having this contentment of today was a good day. How can I make tomorrow good? That's your goal, not just the one goal. So if you're working so hard and you're miserable and you're setting the bar so high, that's going to be an obstacle for you. So the flip side of being too hard on ourselves is being too lenient on ourselves. It can create an obstacle to success if we're constantly making excuses. I'm really good at making excuses. And we let ourselves off the hook too often. So this might look like saying things like, oh, I'm just going to have a cheat day today. But you say that 3 times a week. So it's not just one cheat day. It's like, oh, so every day is a cheat day. Okay. One thing that I'm guilty of saying, one thing that I'm working on, I'm sharing this with you to show you I'm willing to be vulnerable with you as well. I'm trying to work on having deeper friendships in my life. I've been so busy with having a job and being a mother, a stepmom, a wife. I've been so busy with those things, and I'm like, dang, I really don't have any deep friendships. Like, I really crave deep friendships. But sometimes I'm kind of an introvert, so when I go home from work, I just want to like not do the work of maintaining and creating friendships. So I'll be like, I need to work on this getting friends thing, but oh, come on now, Farmer Wants a Wife is on TV. That show is stupid good. So I've got battles of my own, right? But if I'm too soft on myself and say, oh, it's been a long day, just sit down and relax. If I do that all the time, my goal of creating deeper friendships is not going to happen. So to see change in our lives, we have to make changes and not always be soft. So we need this perfect combination, You've heard of the good cop, bad cop. We need the good cop, bad cop combo in our brains at all times. To be hard on ourselves, to be soft on ourselves, kind of like ebb and flow, to give ourselves the tension we need to move forward, but the grace and softness we need to also relax and enjoy the day. And finding that sweet spot, man, that's really difficult. But yeah, it's a work in progress, and each day is different. So experiences from our past, they can also get in our way. We can get caught up in negative memories or sometimes even trauma. That's huge. It's hard to just get over. And this goes back to a mindset. We can start believing we're not cut out for this because of something that happened that forever changed us, or might even go so far as is currently defining who we are if we allow it. Times we tried to reach a goal and we failed in the past, that might sneak into our brains and tell us it will happen again. And that makes sense, right? Because again, if you're looking at evidence, you're like, oh, evidence points to that. I failed. I'm probably going to fail again. So if you get stuck in your past like that, there's a good chance it's going to get in your way of current success. Time management. Ooh-wee, who has a problem with this? Everybody. Time management is a big obstacle that we all face. We're all so stinking busy, and figuring out how to change our schedule is always met with major pushback from our brains, right? We don't like it. And this is a really big one to tackle, and it definitely takes honesty, discipline, and understanding what's going to work for you. We talked about it in the last episode, and I call it find your flavor. And this applies to managing your time in a way that works for you, that you can sustain, right? You have a limited amount of time each day, so you can't just say, yeah, I'm going to get to that today. Okay, be specific. What time today? What else are you going to cut out to make room for this? Because you didn't get an extra hour added to your day. You got to cut an action from your day. Is it scrolling on your phone? Take that away. Replace it with this. So it's going to take some honest searching and some real talk with yourself or your coach about where you're going to find the time, because time is limited. Lack of resources or knowledge is a really big obstacle that stops us from taking risks to reach our goals. It makes sense, right? We say we have no idea where to start. That can feel overwhelming. Or, man, I don't have the money for that. But can we start small? Can we start just being curious about all that we don't know and maybe ask to shadow someone who has more knowledge and experiences? So you might not have the knowledge or the money, but what if you take one step today? Maybe by the end of the year, the answers will be more in focus than if you keep hiding out on your couch, right? So you don't know what a year from now is going to look like. Maybe you will have the money. Maybe you will have the resources and all the knowledge. But that's not going to happen by magical thinking or a vision board you put on your wall that you never look at. Okay? So don't hide on your couch. Step out of it. Think about how you can start, even though it seems so enormous. So another obstacle that kind of goes along that line is losing your motivation. As you set out to accomplish something, Again, one day you can have this great fire in your belly. Yeah, let's do this. And the next day, ooh, I could not be bothered with this. This is horrible. It's too hard. It's gone, just like that. So keeping that fire going, that's an obstacle in itself. And you have to revisit it every single day. You got to remind yourself, what's my motivation? And last episode, we talked about finding your flavor and understanding who you are. So are you someone who's motivated by the life you'll have once you change some things? Or are you a person who is motivated by the life you'll have if you don't change some things? Right? For some reason, our brains are just wired that way. Like, you're either going to scare yourself into doing something. So say, for example, you are trying to quit smoking, right? A really good way for some people to quit smoking is to be scared by looking at pictures of what lungs look like that have lung cancer. That's going to scare you, some people, real quick into being like, I should really stop this. For other people, to be like, I know that, but I'm still going to smoke. Something that might work better for those people might be to show them the life of, I can breathe better, I have less pain, I can go on that trip with my grandkids. So it's about finding your flavor. How are you wired? What does your motivation look like? And here's the really important part, how can you keep that fresh every single day? Not just day 1 of your journey, but day 47 of your journey, day 547 of your journey. Every day, what's your motivation? It's like putting logs in the fire. The motivation is a log. Put some more logs on it. And if you don't keep your motivation locked and loaded, you're going to lose your focus, which is another big old obstacle, focus. Sometimes we don't even find our focus, let alone lose it along the way. We talk about the big goals. We buy the cute yoga pants, right? We read all the books. But when it comes time to do the thing, we don't even take the step because doing is harder than buying cute workout clothes or reading a book about someone else's story, right? So focus is the glorious ingredient that makes everything come to life. It turns an idea into daily action, and then it elevates daily action into a routine. And it transforms a daily routine into baking something into your DNA. It just becomes who you are. So without focus, nothing is possible. Now, I know people struggle with focus. They have ADD, ADHD. That's a real thing. So if focus is difficult for you, replace it with the word consistency, because that's pretty much a synonym. If you consistently do something, you got focus. You just approached it from a different way. So focus and consistency. Just like some of the obstacles I've listed, there is a flip side to this one as well. And that is having so much focus, like too much focus, that you become obsessed. You might have a goal and you're so committed to following through on it that you start to neglect other parts of your life that are equally important to having overall health and happiness. Remember, in previous episodes, we talked about how happiness is holistic, right? It consists of contentment in various categories. Some categories might be relationships, career, or your purpose, financial health, spirituality or service to others, leisure and fun, and physical and mental health. You might have more or different categories in your own personal recipe for life, but the point is, if you get so laser focused on one category, you might start to see your life lose color in another area, and that's not the goal here. When you put some focus on something specific in your life, the best case scenario is when it has a positive ripple effect on other areas of your life. But when it cuts into other areas in your life too much, you might need to kind of re-examine your plan, because that's a good indicator that you're gonna burn out. If your other parts of your life are suffering, there's no joy in that. So you got to pull back a little bit and say, maybe I'm a little too obsessed. Maybe I can reassess my plan here. So these next obstacles are two that everyone deals with. I don't care who you are. I know you've dealt with them. So don't lie. I see you. I actually don't see you, but I'm telling you, everyone has dealt with these. And I call them the shuns: distractions and procrastination. We're surrounded by a million ways to be distracted, right? Just look around. There's just things waiting to get their hands on you. They're waiting for you to numb yourself to the world. Distractions. And sometimes that's okay. It's okay to numb yourself and have fun and relax. It's a really big part of life. I mean, one of the most important parts of life is having fun, I would say. But I'm going to challenge you here. Is scrolling social media fun? Would you call that fun? Is binge watching shows fun? Is rearranging your closet fun? Oh, I love doing that, by the way. But or are you doing these things to avoid the work and just to numb yourself? So think about those things. It's distractions, procrastination. You're putting it off. Distractions, man, that's why do people say kissing cousin? Do you ever hear that? I was going to say distractions are the kissing cousin to procrastination, but that's really gross. Why do we say that? I'm going to rephrase that. Distractions are really similar, and they go hand in hand with procrastination. I would bet we've all said something like, "Oh, we're going to do that someday," right? I'm going to learn to speak Spanish someday. But like we haven't done it yet, right? Because someday just never comes. We get distracted, or we talk ourselves out of it, or we don't intentionally put it on our calendar to make the time, to make it a priority. We put it off because it's not as important in our mind as like paying the bills or doing other things that like contribute to our daily survival. Those things come first. So we put off the things that we want. Another obstacle that's going to try to get in your way and is pretty much inevitable is change, right? Life changes. People leave. We leave people. We get a diagnosis, or a loved one gets a diagnosis. We start a new job, or we lose a job. Life is going to happen, and even when you have a game plan or a big goal, life is not going to stop for you. Our instinct might be to just quickly let go of our goal because we view it as extra or not necessary when life changes too much. Like we just can't handle it. Too much is going on. Forget about it. That might be your instinct, right? But knowing this ahead of time, you can be prepared for that. And you might need to change your game plan or tweak your routine to be more flexible when things come up. But the quick response, I really encourage you, should not be to just quickly give up. Take a beat, re-examine, give yourself some grace, but not so much grace that you give up. These last obstacles are a little more messy that you might discover along the way. They're just a little bit more complicated. The first of these is not knowing what the obstacle is. So the obstacle is not knowing what the obstacle is. You might keep doing something and trying to accomplish a goal, but you just keep falling short, right? You just keep trying it without ever making real progress, but you keep doing it and failing again and again and not knowing what the heck's getting in my way. I just don't get it. Knowing your obstacles doesn't make them go away, but it gives you vital information for knocking them down when they taunt you. Okay? Taking a step back can sometimes feel really bad, like, oh, I want to get this done. I don't want to take the time to think about it. But taking a step back can sometimes be the best way to take a step forward. I promise you, it's worth the work to understand what's getting in your way, so you can stop letting it get in your way. And the last, more tangled obstacle that takes more work to defeat is the obstacle of going after the wrong goal or going after it for the wrong reason. Man, that takes some, I said man again, I'm always saying man, man, that takes some solid self-awareness to figure that out. Like, oh, I've been going after the wrong goal, or I've been going after it for the wrong reason. Now, this might not stop you from reaching your goal, but it can definitely stop you from feeling happy or joyful about the process or the person you become if you're doing it for any reason other than you authentically want it. This can happen when we don't take the time to understand who we are and what our values are. If we don't challenge or question ourselves, we start to go into autopilot. And when we do that, we can really start down the path of reaching a goal that was never really ours. That's a bad path to go on, the wrong path. Or it's a goal we've created because we want external praise or validation. We want to impress people. That's a bad way to go also, because you're going to reach your goal and be like, this sucks. I don't care about this. Wouldn't you want to know that now in the beginning before you devote years to it? That's why it's worth the time to really focus and understand yourself. So in that sense, nobody has any business creating a goal until they've laid the foundation of knowing who they are, how they're wired, and what lights them up. I'm telling you, that's so worth the time to make that as your foundational first step. Man, that was a lot. think we're at 40 minutes. What a bummer of an episode, huh? Sorry. I've done nothing but talk about the inevitable obstacles in your life, but I told you I keep it real. And I do this so you can be real with yourself. Being real is what it's all about. Being authentic, knowing what's going to happen, like what's going to get in your way, what might stop you. Just having all the information is power. And the reality is, there are several things that will line up to keep you from trying something new. So why not be honest about them so you're not surprised by them? So now, I want you to start thinking about what gets in your way. I listed a lot of things here for you, but what's your first thought about what gets in your way? Other people, your schedule, your thoughts, your past, your lack of motivation, your closed mind, the fear of failing, the lack of confidence or focus? Or is your biggest obstacle not knowing what you want? So you keep going after what others tell you makes sense to go after. Now, these are all enormous, tangled obstacles. And finding the answers of how to overcome them over and over again is a job that's difficult to accomplish on your own. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it takes a dedication to growing skills and understanding who you are at the core. Doing that work with a life coach is going to help you make discoveries that you just wouldn't do on your own because we don't push ourselves as much as another person will push us. It's the same thing as working with a personal trainer. They're going to push you a little bit harder to grow stronger, and you're not going to do that on your own. That's what a life coach does. They push you emotionally, spiritually, physically, will push you to challenge yourself in a way that feels right to you that you really won't do on your own. So think about one goal you have. I don't care how silly you feel about it, okay? If the thought keeps popping up, it's because your heart cannot and will not forget about it. So think about that goal. Think about what you believe might get in your way. Say it out loud, man. Say it out loud. I want this, and this might get in my way. Some examples might be, I want to change careers, but I'm afraid of not having enough money to support my family. I want to go back to school, but I'm afraid of feeling stupid. I want to start dating again, but I'm so afraid of rejection. Say those things out loud. I don't care who's around. Please just say it out loud. Write it down. More importantly, write it down so you have a point of reference to go back to. Be real about it and don't say, nothing's going to get in my way. Nothing's going to stop me. You're too much. If you're saying that nothing is going to get in your way, you're not being real. Just stop. Be real. Life will get in your way. And what are you going to do about it? Thank you guys so much for listening today. I know it was a long one. It's worth digging into these things though, right? I'm doing these podcasts to normalize the idea of life coaching. Life coaching it's like seen as like this weird new thing. I want it to be as normalized as working out. It's just this thing to help empower you and make your brain and your soul and your heart come to life. I want it to be normal in my community of Dayton, Ohio, and for anyone anywhere who's listening. I want you to see you can dig deeper into life by slowing down, taking a step back, and creating a sustainable action plan that feels right to you and your values and your personality. If you'd like to learn more about working with me, info can be found at RebeccaRine.com. It's RebeccaRine.com. My business is called Rebecca Rine Life Coaching. And to make life coaching accessible to everyone, every few months I offer 4 free sessions for someone who is ready to make changes, but they truly just do not have the financial means to pay for life coaching. So if that's you, or someone you know, reach out to me on my site because I do have an opening starting this summer, so I'd love to chat with you. Next week, I'll be talking about some tools and practices that are often labeled as woo-woo or hippy-drippy, my favorite words, but that are actually scientifically proven to improve your brain and well-being. I'll present these things and give you ideas of how you can make them your own so they feel like you're being true to yourself and you're not going to break out the finger symbols and incense if that's not your thing. I mean, they're kind of my thing. I'm a little bit crunchy, a little bit granola, but we're going to present them. I say I'm going to present them in a way that you can consider them and be like, okay, I've never thought about that, but maybe I'll try it because Rebecca presented it in a way that it's not so scary and out there. So that's my goal for next week. I hope you tune in for that. Transform today and do it again tomorrow. Let's start doing the work instead of just talking about doing the work. You've got this. You're awesome. And I see you.